Hello and welcome to Turner Truck and Tractor. My name is Les and I'm glad you're here and I'm glad to be back with you. So thank you for your time. I do appreciate it. Hey, I'm coming to you from the headquarters of Turner Truck and Tractor, which is conveniently located in my backyard. So take a quick look, and our project today is an oil change and a hydrostat filter change on the John Deere 2025R. So I'm glad to show you that and walk you through it. I'm sure I may not do it exactly like everybody else. But there's more than one way to do it. So let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is clean up our work area. All right, yours may be dusty or dirty. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean, but let's go ahead and get it. Let me show you real quick. And I am right at 47 hours. Take a look at that there. Get you seated right there. And I am going to try to do it with the mid-mount mower even attached. I think it's going to add to the complexity of it and probably give me a bad time about it. And on second thought, we're taking off that mower deck. All right, much better. Let's try this, take two. Lots of paper towels. I've been known to make a mess or two. Some gloves since we're getting all fancy. And back to the 17 millimeter on an extension and ratchet handle. So this is the first time I really looked. See what all we got. Get that handy. Oh yeah. First of all, 17 millimeter is the winner. I'm going to get a shorter extension. And if you're like me, the job isn't hard. It's all the getting up and down and everything else, getting ready and cleaning up afterwards. And that's sort of to be expected, that it's tight from the factory, and I'm sure that oil filter will be as well. And that oil is just slightly warm, which is actually not a bad thing. And if you pull the dipstick or open the fuel cap just ever so little, it'll let it drain a little bit faster. Be careful when you're reaching in here. We've got a hot engine and a hot muffler. So just be mindful of that. And while that's finishing up, let's take a look at our oil filter. All right, if you can see it, I happen to get these parts online. I didn't feel like dealing with the clowns at the parts desk at the dealership, but not that that's a bad thing or anything. Go to your dealer, support them as well. I got this at greenpartstore.com, and if you use code Turner Truck and Tractor, you'll get 0% off. Heck, if you tell them I sent you, you might get retail plus 10%. So let's see what we got. All right. Well, we appreciate that. One oil filter. I expect that to be the hydraulic filter. And here is 3 quarts of John Deere Plus 50 full synthetic 0W40 engine oil in the bag there. So let's take this back over. There's the part number if you want to take a look for your application. I know it fits the 2025 and the 1025R. All right, let's take the gander. And while that continues to drip, let's see if we can get this oil filter off. And I expect it to be on there tight. Yeah, it is. And I do not think I've got an oil filter wrench quite that small. In fact, I know I don't. Everything I own is just a little bit bigger. We're going to go to the toolbox and see if we can try this little gem out for size. Nothing is easy, is it? And I do have the sad feeling that once I get this handle where it's actually doing some work, I'm not going to have any play left in it. Yep. And I saw it slip as well. Try it from this angle. for it. Get any dust off that. I need all the grip I can get. Well, not having any luck with that. No, not at all. But I'm letting you see the good, bad, and ugly of it. I heard a few of you in the back hollering at me. Let's see if this is big enough. Bingo. I think I got it started, but not enough where I can handle it. Keep working at it, don't give up. And I'm not to the hammer and screwdriver trick either yet. And if you had a bigger pair of channel locks, that would actually do it, but it is moving. Ever so little, but I think at the factory they put them on with a pissed off gorilla and Loctite. And for good measure, then they paint over it. There, that'll do it. Where it won't. Got it. Winner. Patience, people. We'll get it, but I heard you. Thanks for cheering me on. All right. Not too big. And I'm more of a stickler for maintenance. As you saw, it had 47 hours and change. And in the past, John Deere used to have a 50-hour service that they recommended. And now it's up to 200 hours. And I think they must have bumped it up to 200 just to show that it's more maintenance free. But maintenance is cheap. It's cheaper than repairs. I plan on owning it for a while. And I always take good care of my equipment. So, let's get any manufacturing shavings and dust out of it on this first oil change. And then after this, I might even take it to 200 hours, but I might even change it at 100 at that point. One thing you want to look at here on the face right here where the oil filter screws onto. Make sure this O-ring or gasket does not stick to that, and then you double up with your new one and you're all but guaranteed to have an oil leak, and you may not know why. So just make sure that is clean, dirt free, no gasket stuck to it, and you'll be well on your way. All right. Well, let's get this new filter out and make sure it matches, or we will be in a world of hurt. Make sure there's no cellophane on it. Look it over. And I like it's a good practice to get a permanent pin and mark the hours and the date on it. If you don't keep records in a book, that's one way. And then it's always good to put a little oil right here. One way to do it is, just kiss the filters right there. Make sure you get it all around. Put some on the threads. That looks good. And we're going to return this one. And I promise you, I will not smoke it to Alabama. And if you're in Alabama, don't smoke it to Georgia. Or if you're in Oklahoma, don't smoke it to Texas. You get the idea. Because as it goes through the heat cycles, it has a tendency to get tighter and tighter. And then you'll never get it off again without a bunch of trouble. All right, I think we've got that looking good. All right, clean up any possible messes. And we're going to go back underneath, clean the oil pan, and put the drain plug back in. All right, I'm going to wipe down the oil pan. And on John Deere, it just has one drain plug, but some manufacturers of these compact tractors, the drive shaft for the front axle goes right underneath the oil pan, and the oil pan is shaped like a horseshoe right around it, so it may have two drain plugs. So if you just pull one, you're only getting a portion of the total out. So just be observant of that. Look to make sure there's no shavings on it. You still got your gasket and you know where that's at. You want to be clean, clean, clean. Always start it by hand, don't cross thread it. And just snug it up. You don't have to strip it out or overdo it. It's not going anywhere. Wipe that off. Just be observant of any other wear or tear items, just to make sure no electrical lines or hydraulic cables or lines are rubbing on something else and wearing out. Make sure you got your drips all dried up, because you're going to be looking for that later. And just take a look to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be and wearing normally. All right, I think we look good there. And luckily we get to go back up on top. It's about 95 degrees outside today, so it's warm enough. All right. Clean this off. Recognize your marks where you need to be at. And we're going to try to fill this up to the top And stop right there. Double check that. Everything looks good so far. I will meet you up top here. And let me show you what you're looking at here at the top. All right. Here's the top of the engine compartment. And here is the oil fill plug. It's on the top of the valve cover. When you reach down in here, here's your muffler. And it can be hot if you just ran it. So be mindful of that. And then here's the back of the air cleaner and the air intake hose. So we will take that off and set that aside. Make sure you keep it in a clean place. And we will place the funnel in here. And we're going to put about 3.5 quarts in here to get started with. On this motor oil, they taped up the cap to make sure it doesn't come off. I do appreciate that because I've bought some stuff before and the cap has come off during shipping, and of course you lose all your product and it makes a mess all over the box and anything else you may have ordered, and you may or may not get a refund out of it. So even though this is a pain and a major inconvenience, they must have had that before and learned from it. And so in that respect, I appreciate them for it. So we will, just like that oil filter, we'll just have to go to town on this till we're winning. Be right back. We're going to get some better tools. Man, they use that strain reinforced tape. All right, everything looks good. We got the right material here. Let's get pouring. If you start hearing puddles on the ground, you may have forgotten your drain plug. And while you're doing this, don't knock dirt down in it. And some motor oil may have a foil cover on it. If you punch it with a screwdriver or a pocket knife, just make sure it doesn't come off and go down in there and get stuck in the top of the engine. It could cause problems. Okay, I'm going to come over here on the side, dipstick side, and see where we're at. And a lot of times that oil is so clean and so clear that it's even hard to see it on the dipstick. I have put in 3 quarts and it's just a little bit over the full mark, but it does have a empty filter on it, but that filter is not that big. So make sure your oil cap is clean, your O-ring or gasket is attached. This is a new tractor, so I wasn't expecting troubles. But if you've got an old vehicle or you're looking to buy a vehicle, pull the oil cap and look underneath. If it looks like a chocolate milkshake, you've got a cracked head or a head gasket issue, most likely, where the oil and the water is mixing. So just a tip there, if you're looking at older stuff, make sure everything is clean and you don't knock a wad of dirt into that open engine. There we go. Had a trouble getting it started. And get that snug. It doesn't have to be the tightest possible. All right, we're back together the way we found it. And just look for leaks or other issues that you see on the tractor. I believe we're in good shape, so let's clean up our mess and give it a start. All right, what I did was start it and make sure that the low oil pressure light did not stay on and that it sounded okay, no unusual sounds or clattering. Even though it's a diesel, sometimes it's a little bit hard to tell. And now we're going to walk around and just inspect everything and make sure we don't have any leaks. I'm going to check underneath the oil filter. Looks good. Make sure we're not dripping underneath. I do not see it. So we'll pull the pan and clean up our mess. Here's what I do with the used motor oil is I just pour it up in a container, and then when that gets full, I take it into town and get it recycled. Hey, I was trying to get that transmission filter off, and I've got 5 oil filter wrenches. Of course, none of them fit, so we're going to get Billy Baru, and this is one of the benefits of having a brother that lives right down the street. So let's see what we can do to get this off. Thought I'd take you underneath the tractor, and this is right underneath your feet, or right underneath the seat if you were looking at the tractor. So we're underneath, and this is the filter that I'm trying to get off. It's all painted black, and I'm sure the shadows don't really show it too well. But here's the transmission hydraulic oil filter right here. So there's not a lot of room on either side to get your hands on it, and that thing is tight, tight, tight. So I'm going to try those channel lock style groove pliers and see if I can get that off. All right, I did get the transmission hydraulic filter off, and if you can see it here, I used those large channel locks and mangled up the filter to get it off the tractor. But I was successful, and while I was so close, sorry I didn't get the camera up there, but I went ahead and put the new one up there and tightened it up. You can get to the filter real easily. I would highly recommend an oil filter tool that fits it. The channel locks, you can't get around it. It's so tight inside. You can get to the oil filter this way, but trying to get that oil filter off is tough. But I was successful with the very large channel lock groove pliers. So that would be my only tip to make the process easier. But I did not lose much fluid, so I'm going to double check it, but I don't even think I'll even need to add anything in this process. While you're at it and you're already dirty and underneath the tractor, now's a good time to go ahead and grease all the U-joints in the drive shaft and underneath, and then when you get out of that, you can go ahead and do your loader. And just a pump or two in each grease zerk should do it. Just don't go to town on it and blow out the seals. And if you put the transmission in neutral, you're able to rotate the front drive shaft, because that front one can get or be hard to get to, but I hadn't had any trouble, and I've just got the regular end on it. But the lock and lube is really good for projects like that. So just wanted to pass along that tip. Hey ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sticking with me this long. I got the underneath all greased up, and what I mean by that is both the front and the rear drive shafts. One tip on that, there's a U-joint in the front, and the grease zerk is synced up with the one in back. So if you get the one in the back aimed to where you can get to it, so is the front. And you go through this little hole, and then the grease zerk is sort of hidden out of the way, but right above it. So it's not easy, but it's not difficult. I've done it twice now, and I hadn't had any problems. I greased the front end loader, and while I got all done, I went, While you got your mower off, go ahead and grease that, since it's so easy to get to, which I've already done. I've cleaned up just a little bit. So let's go ahead and get the mower deck put back on, clean up the floor, and call it a day and get rehydrated. Hey friends, thank you for watching. Sorry about that abrupt end, but the camera battery died and I wasn't even aware of that. But I was able to get the mower deck on and clean up the floor in the shop and get everything cleaned up, and everything worked out. Any questions, please put it in the comments. And I would just say, be purposeful, be determined, go slow, watch what you're doing, and it'll all work out. So I appreciate y'all, appreciate your time, and thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Now let's go out and have a good time out on the town. Take care.